esimene pool möödus ärkamise tehani ja seda on meil võimalus märgata ja märgata seda, mida siis on tehtud meie võsanaabrite juures ja finaalemaadest. Mul on hea meel kutsuda esinema siia Eva Karin Wedin Rootsist, kelle kohta Rootsis oli niisugune nimetus nagu geenuspedagoog. Nii et ka neil oli selle sõnaga gender väike probleem ja siis on Rootsis geenuspedagoogid ja Eva Karin on Eestis teist korda ja on käinud enne rääkimas lasteaednikele räägib projektist. Mul on hea meel, et me kuuleme, mida tehakse Rootsis riigist, kus ametlikult poliitilisel tasandil kõva häälega räägitakse, et sugudevaheline võrdsus on tähtis ja oluline asi.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here with you today. Do everyone knows that we have this translation into Estonian? Yeah, great. So, I work as a gender specialist at the County Ministry Board of Westmanland, and this is a picture of the county where I'm working. It's one of the 21 regional government authorities in Sweden. My assignment is to promote gender mainstreaming on a strategic level in both private and public sectors in the region of Westmanland. For example, by promoting and financing projects in this area. One of our project areas in Westmanland is entrepreneurship and gender in schools, and you will hear more about one of these projects from the next speaker, Mr. Marcus P. Hart. Previously, I have worked about 10 years as an educator and trainer in the area of equal opportunities. I have worked with different organizations, but mostly with school and preschools. 3 years ago, I published a book based on my experiences. The book contains theory, concrete methods, and good examples for the work with these issues. But during most of my working life, I have worked as a teacher, and I am an educated teacher for upper secondary schools. I will organize my speech from this triangle that will serve as a picture of 3 necessary parts that the work for gender equality needs to contain. I start with the top corner of the triangle. What are the assignments for school and preschools in Sweden? What does the steering document say about these issues? But first, I'd like to remind you that the foundation and a cornerstone for the work for equal opportunities is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights from 1948, declared by the United Nations. It says that every human being is born free and equal in dignity and rights, independent of sexes. Human rights are for both women and men. I mean that we have to remind us about this declaration when we discuss these issues. I sometimes get the question why it's necessary to put time and resources to promote gender equality, when there are lots of other important issues to prior for the development of the society. For example, poverty, unemployment, social welfare, and so on. And I can give you hundreds of arguments pro work for gender equality, but I can also put it in a strong and short way. Gender equality is a human right, and when the state has signed this UN Declaration for Human Rights, it becomes an obligation for the state, and it must be reflected in the steering documents of schools and preschool, and to be implemented in school, the daily work in school. In Sweden, this is regulated by the Education Act and the Discrimination Act. They say that the education provided in Sweden's schools and preschools should be framed to, and I quote, all human beings are equal in dignity and rights, gender equality and solidarity. And it also says that discrimination and harassment on the grounds of sex and sexual orientations are forbidden. Each school and preschool has an obligation to conduct goal-oriented work and plans to actively promote equal rights and opportunities for children and pupils, and also to take measures to prevent any child or pupil to being subjected to discrimination and harassment associated with sex, transgender identity and sexual orientation. The curricula for all the school forms in Sweden, including school, say that the work for equal opportunities between men and women should be active and consciously. The curricula say The school has a responsibility to counteract traditional gender roles. Sorry. And this means that the school and the preschool should provide children and pupils the opportunity to develop their own abilities and interests, irrespective of their sexual identity. The key words here are counteract, and that means that you don't reproduce gender roles. You work against them, but you don't take them away totally. You just counteract. And the other key word is traditional gender roles. So you need to be aware of if you have traditional gender roles in your school and in what way that will appear. This keyword should serve as a call for the teacher, actually. And this means that an active work to promote equal opportunities in Swedish preschools and schools is a very clear and strong mission according to the steering documents. It is actually pointed out as a fundamental value for the school and the preschool. But how does it work? Is the Swedish school gender equal, and does the results show that boys and girls get equal opportunities? Well, I'm sorry to say the answer is no. And this brings us to the second corner of the triangle and the question why. Why do we need to work with gender equality? Isn't it something natural to treat boys and girls in an equal way? Boys and girls are individuals with different needs and should be treated that way. Some need more help from the tutor and others less, and that is okay. Humans are different. This is the kind of answers you get when you ask a Swedish teacher mostly about gender equality. They often answer like this: yes, of course we give equal opportunities to boys and girls. Maybe the mistakes sometimes, okay, but most of the time we do. But if we take a look at the research done in this field, we found that it's quite the opposite. There is still a wide gap between the steering documents and school practice. The Swedish Ministry of Education has, during the first decade of this century, established 2 commissions to make a critical review of gender and equality aspects in Swedish preschools and schools. First out was the Delegation for Gender Equality in Preschools, who worked during the years 2004 to 2004 to 2006. They write in their report that the teachers in the Swedish preschools are, and I quote, gendering all kinds of activities in the preschool. The children and the material used, the environment, the activities used, and the structure of the work, everything is constantly divided into male and female. The teachers have different expectations in boys and girls. Boys are expected to be noisy, fussy, impatient. Girls are expected to be calm and to obey the rules of preschool. The girls are also expected to be careful and helpful and more silent than the boys. I think we have heard some of this before lunch. It's the same picture. The report describes how children feel these expectations and behave as they are expected to be. The teachers are actually reproducing traditional gender roles instead of counteracting them due to the assignment to the curriculum. The second commission, the Delegation of Gender Equality in Schools, who worked during the years of 2008 and 2010, declare in their report that there are considerable differences in performance, experience and preference between boys and girls that will affect the learning results in the Swedish schools. The girls perform better than boys and they receive better grades. This gap between boys and girls has actually been widening during the last 20 years. The girls are more stressed and their mental health is worse, and they have a lower self-esteem during the teenage period. Although they have poorer results, the boys dominate in the classroom, speak more than the girls, and get more attention from the teachers, often in a negative way. Exactly the same pictures that we heard about before lunch. The boys are also more active than the girls when it comes to harassment and bullying. The pupils' choices of different programs for upper secondary school are still made in a very gender stereotype. The better grades for girls results in the domination of female students at the university in Sweden, about 65% of the undergraduate students are today women. And in popular university programs with tough competition, the number of women is about 70 to 75%. There is only one academic field that has a lack of women, and that's the technical and engineering sector, where men still dominate. And this is also, of course, reflected in the labor market in Sweden, which is still very gender segregated, even if you see some changes today. This school commission also made reports on how women and men are described in textbooks produced for the two school subjects, history and social science. And the results show that men and the male perspective dominate the text. The life and conditions for women and children during different historical epochs, for example, are seldom mentioned or described in words. The main picture of men given in the history books is that they are violent warriors, kings fighting all the time, a very gender stereotype picture that is transferred to humans. So, on the whole, I would say that this is the situation in Sweden and Estonia not so different. Maybe there are differences in grades, but on the whole, it's not so different, I think, after what I heard before lunch. So, we can say that we can establish the fact there is a gap between steering documents and practice in Sweden. But, and this is the positive thing, during the last 10 years we have seen a growing awareness of the need of gender-sensitive teaching in Sweden. The reports of the two mentioned commissions have had an impact, and projects and inspired teachers have created mentors and good examples all over the country. Especially the preschool have been in the front line of this work in Sweden. But before we look how this work has been done and can be done, I will give you an example later. We will stay in this wide corner for a short more moment and take a look at gender theory and how that can serve as an instrument for analysis in this work. When you work with gender issues in school, it's important to use science reports and theory as a platform for the work. Otherwise, it's risk that the work will be based on personal opinions and experiences, and that is not a safe ground for school development. The work for gender equality is a way to improve the quality of the school, you must remember that. And therefore it needs to be grounded on research and facts to be sustainable and not just opinions. And gender studies and gender theory, as you know, are useful tools for analysis of school situation and observations. One theory that I and many others have used in this case is the theory of the gender system made by a Swedish professor in history at the University of Stockholm. This is Eva Karin Wedin. Hillman refers to gender as a variability of ideas of men and women. Ideas that use biological differences between bodies to rise notions and social actions. Gender is the construction of female and male. Ideas of gender form humans into men and women into women and direct their actions. Gender manifests itself in institutionalized differences and hierarchies of power between women and men. Hillman systemized the ideas of gender to a structure designed as a gender system. The organizations on notions of gender in all domains of society. The gender system is clearly distinguishable historically as well as geographically. The forms for what is recognized as male and female, masculine or feminine, differs in different societies and times, but the structure remains. And the gender structure is manifested in three principles or laws that rules the system. The first principle is the segregation of women and men. And they are put in a state in opposition to each other, a dichotomy. And this we also have examples for before lunch. The male is the opposite of the female and vice versa, and they cannot mix. Men and women shall have special characteristics that are opposite. Actually, the sexes should repel each other. Girls shall be cute and nice, boys shall be strong and hard. Toys that represent softness and kindness, like dolls, are for girls. Toys that represent strength and power, like cars and trains, are for boys, and so on, you know. And men and women that shall not differ too much from this male and female norm. Otherwise, they risk to be classified as abnormal, not being a real man or a real woman. For example, it's more accepted to be a boyish girl than a girlish boy. And it's accepted for women to wear pants, less accepted for men to wear skirts. The second principle of the gender system is the superstatus of the male standard, the male norm, the hierarchy of the male. Things that are classified as manly are more valuable than the womanly. Man is representing the mankind, woman is the other, the diligent and the subordinated. For example, traditional female jobs are paid less than traditional male jobs. And the third principle of the gender system is that we all reproduce this system, both men and women. We do it without awareness because it feels so natural to us. I will give you some small examples. This is cards, picture cards given to children when they are newborn. And you know, it starts there. You see, you don't understand the language, but you see which one is for girls and which one is for boys, don't you? Yeah. The big one says that it's a beautiful girl child has just begun her life, and as beauty as she was born, as beauty she will remain, they say. And the blue one is this boy child. He said that he has taken a step into this world and he has started a journey. You see, there are symbols for actions. So this is maybe just a foolish and simple example, but it starts at this age and it continues all the way up. I'll give you another picture. Can you tell me what this is? Someone? A store selling clothes for
girls and boys.
what?
Girls and boys.
A shop selling clothes for boys and girls.
Yes.
No, it's not. It's actually the dog store at the Harrods in London. Those are dog clothes, you know. So, you know, we are so eager to reproduce this gender system that we have, we do it in dogs too, you know. But it's, yeah. The gender system works on a growth level. Not every woman is subordinated man, and not every boy has more status than a girl. But the gender system is a theory that can be used to help us analyze the situation in classrooms and be a tool to detect unequal patterns. And it's very, very important for a teacher to accept that he or she is a part of a gender system, and that we all are reproducing gender roles. And in that way I use these pictures just to remind them how natural and how this is all around us every day, every minute. To reach awareness and realize how the gender system works is an important step towards creating equal opportunities. It's not only an important step, it's a necessary step. And this brings us to the third corner of the triangle. How can we work to create a gender-sensitive and gender-equal school? I would like to describe the work as a process with 5 steps. The first step is to gain knowledge about gender in a school context in order to create an understanding and motivation for enacting work. That means to attend lectures like this one today, for example, for teachers, to read research reports and articles about gender issues in a school context, because you need to get this connection between the gender system and how it actually is interesting for the school context to work with, and how it's relevant for the learning situation for boys and girls. The teachers need to familiarize themselves with relevant issues according to gender. And the second step is for the teachers to be aware of how gender is reproduced in their own classrooms. And this, as I have already mentioned, is the absolutely most important step. To gain awareness of how the gender system is manifested is crucial for the teachers' possibilities to work with these issues. If they don't manage to reach this awareness, it will be very hard for them to make any changes in order to reach equal opportunities. And for this purpose, there are today several mapping and observation techniques, because you need to undetect your own classroom. I have some examples of this. Is, for example, to measure the time the teachers attend to boys and girls in the classroom, to map differences in results between boys and girls, to map gender stereotypes represented in material used, textbooks, film, etc., to map the number of negative and positive reinforcement from the teachers to the boys and girls, etc., etc. You can do it in a lot of ways, and you just can pick up the things that are most interesting to you as a teacher in a teaching situation. One very powerful technique is to videotape the interaction between the teachers and the children. And I've used this a lot in my work, and it's very effective and very powerful. Because on a videotape you can't hide anything. And you get to know things that you absolutely didn't know was happening in the classroom if you videotape them. It's a very powerful technique. Well, the third step is to analyze the results from the mappings and the observations, and to reflect upon how the results is relevant for the learning situation for the children. Is the gender system reproduced, and how? And does it, does it affect the learning opportunities for the children in any way? And that's also a very important question to reflect upon, because you can see a lot of things that is about gender in the classroom, and maybe not everything is the best thing to work against. You have to make it relevant for the learning situation. And that will be the fourth step after they have made it reflex, to make the necessary change to create equal opportunities. And my experience is that this can almost every time be made as a very concrete and small step in the learning activities. It does not need to be a revolution. Instead, it needs to be done in a way that the teachers can follow it up and make any further changes if needed. And that will be the fifth step, to follow up the changes and to evaluate the work. And these steps will, in the best way, serve as a work pattern. You should learn these steps and use them for either short or long processes and for different areas in school and preschool. And use gender theory and research as for analysis. The teachers will be familiar with the work patterns and the routines in this gender work process, and use them whenever it's needed. I will give you an example of how this can work. Some years ago I met 3 teachers who were teaching in the 5th grade. It was pupils 11 years old, and they were interested in comparing the pupils' abilities in reading comprehension. And therefore they gave the children an assignment to read a text and write down answers to questions about the text. The answers were divided into 2 piles, one for the boys and one for the girls, and then compared. were there any differences between the two groups, and how could you see that? And the results showed distinct differences. Most of the boys had written a correct but short answer, exactly according to the question asked and no more. Just one sentence, mostly just one sentence, and some of the boys used only 2 words. Most of the girls had also given a correct answer, but their answers were longer with 2 or even 3 sentences. And many of the girls motivated their answers. They gave the correct answers and they said, and that is because blah, 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 blah. And a few of the girls also made a small analysis of the situation that motivated the answer. So, correct answer, and then, and that is because blah, 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 and now they need to blah, 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 blah. You get the picture? Girls, 2 or 3 sentences, boys, just one, very short ones. The teachers found these gender patterns very interesting because when they reflected on this, they realized that many of the girls, what many of the girls did to motivate and to make analysis are 2 criteria for the higher grades further up in the school system. To get the best grade, you should be good in motivating and making analysis. And many of the girls were already in the 5th grade practicing something that later will be rewarded with higher grades, and without the teacher asking them to do that. But the boys did not. Why was it so? Well, according to the gender system, this makes sense. To be a good pupil, to work hard in school, is today a girlish thing. We also heard about this before lunch. And at least so it is in Swedish schools, and I think it's most of the schools in the Western world. And therefore it's not masculine to work hard. It cannot be that, because according to the gender system, a boy shall not be like a girl. That will give him a lower status. He should be the opposite. And that, in this special case, was to answer the questions from the teachers quickly, just to do the work she asked for. It's not unmanly to get good results and grades, but to work hard to get them is unmanly. A real man does not need to work hard for good results because he's so smart. A girl needs to do that, but not a boy. So if the teachers had asked for motivations to be given in the answers, boys should have given that too, but the teachers did not. And as a boy, you are so smart, you just do what is needed in the situation. So, and that is an example of how masculinity is created in a school context. And by chance, just 2 days ago, I found a perfect illustration of this in this picture. This is actually an ad from a retail store for children's clothes in Sweden. And I found it so typical how the society support this picture of how boys and girls should be. You see here you have the school smart boys and the admiring girls inside. You see that? You get the picture? I think it was a beautiful picture of this situation in the 5th grade school. 5th grade in this, for these teachers. So, the teacher in the 5th class also checked on research made in this field and found studies on masculinity construction made by Michael Kimmel, professor of sociology in the United States, that they found very interesting. He discusses the phenomenon of boys as a group tending to perform on a lower level than girls in schools in Western countries. And he points out that this is this boy crisis is a crisis of gender and not of biological sex. Boys are not more stupid or lazy than girls, but the gender system forces them to perform to be in opposition to girls. And that means to not to study hard and to be so girlish. So, the last step, or the 4th step actually, what changes did the teachers make for the boys to make them perform better? Well, some of the lessons, they separated the boys from the girls and tried to stimulate them to work a little more than was exactly asked for in the exercise, to perform more and better, and to help them to reflect upon how they could improve in their work. And the school also started a campaign in reading literature, which is also considered as a very girlish thing. The campaign included appearance of male role models, reading literature, and also support from the parents. The parents committed themselves to read literature together with their child on a minimum of 15 minutes a day, and preferably fathers together with their sons. So, I would like to finish by showing this picture. The work to reach equal opportunity for boys and girls in the pictures as climbing up the gender ladder. On the first step, the gender ladder, if the school is on the first step, gender stereotype patterns are reinforced. The main opinion is here that the boys and girls are different in many and all ways, according to different learning abilities, and that is a natural thing. That is nothing you can do anything about. In a school on this step, the girls are considered to be better. If we take this example of reading and writing, they are considered to be better in reading and writing already at an early age, while boys have a slower learning process, and that is only natural and nothing that can be checked. The expectations of the performance of the boys are lower than for the girls. And the second step is the gender blind step. The teachers in the schools means that abilities in reading and writing are related to the individual, and there are no gender patterns about that. The teachers' opinions is that they treat boys and girls as individuals and not as gender groups. There are no gender patterns. But they have not made any mapping or any surveys to confirm this, they just assume. The third step is the gender-aware step. Here the teachers have mapped their reading and the writing abilities of the children, and they have found out that the girls perform better than the boys, and this is a thing that they actually can see is the same a lot of years ahead. And so they have made actions to make the boys to read more literature, and as a way to make improvements for the boys. And the fourth step is the gender-sensitive school. The teachers are here aware of how the gender system works, and they are following up the results from the pupils, both on a group and an individual level, always. And they have found out that the boys during several years have had a lower performance in reading and writing, and different actions to strengthen the abilities of the boys are made constantly, all the time. And the teachers have the objective, that the results from girls and boys should be on an equal level. There should be no differences. If there are, the teachers have to be blamed, not the children. So, to finish my speech, I would like to point out that the work with gender equality will never end. We will never come to a point that we can say, now it's finished. Never. It's the same with the work for democracy. There are always new challenges. We will never come to an end. There are always new knowledge and understanding to achieve, new experiences in how gender is manifested in a classroom to reflect upon for a teacher. And that is why it's so rewarding to work as a teacher. There's always room for development and improvement in the pedagogical work. Thank you very much.